Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Wednesday. It's August 30th. It is 2023. We have a 6-game MLB slate to talk about here on today's podcast, joined today by Timothy Buell. You all might know him as TastefulTides. Tim, what's happening, my friend?
Not much, Stevie. Yeah, like we got a 6-game slate to break down. It's definitely I don't know, not my favorite slate on the board, not the favorite slate that I've seen, but I mean we got to break it down and maybe find some contrarian plays so people can win some GPPs.
Yeah, I mean, very interesting slate. We'll talk about how to me, it's like pay up for Coors or pay up for Cole. So we'll talk about it as we're going here. 6-game slate, and yeah, I mean, Coors and Cole against Detroit. I feel like that's the headlines here. So happy to be back. Thanks to TJ for filling in for me yesterday, dude. I had
Yeah,
the worst headache yesterday. It would not go away. Even like sleep wasn't helping. So woke up feeling a little bit better this morning and back on the grind. So
were
thanks
you
for
at
everybody.
Were you at Daytona?
I was at Daytona on Friday and Saturday. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. What a race that was. That was one of the best races I've seen in a long time. That was a lot of fun. That
Yeah,
race. That was a really good race.
yeah, it's wild. Glad Ryan Priest is okay. Glad Ryan Blaney is okay.
Mhm.
Talked about this on the podcast Monday, but yeah, glad he's okay. So, um, yeah, I mean, so far, baseball on Tuesday night going okay. I have a couple Oakland Atlanta stacks that could be potentially moving up the leaderboard now, getting some Oakland home runs. Nailed pitching. Bats just not kind of doing their thing here. Went overweight on Rafael Devers to pivot off of Atlanta a little bit, and that's not working out. And Atlanta's not working out. So pitching great. But yeah, so yeah, let's get into some baseball talk. And again, thank you to TJ and Keith yesterday holding down the fort. We get started with Yankees and Tigers. We get to start off right off the bat here. 7.5 total. Yankees a 160 favorite. Probably not high enough. We got Wentz and Cole facing off against each other. We get to start right here. Let's talk about it. Garrett Cole, 11-5 against Detroit. I mean, it is going to be very hard, if not impossible, to play Cole and Atlanta bats, depending on how many Atlanta bats you want to play. Like, tell me why I shouldn't play Cole, and tell me why I should prioritize the bats over Cole. What are your thoughts overall here?
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. It's just there's a lack of pitching depth on this slate. Um, Pitching is more predictable than hitting. So that would be the argument for Cole. There are going to be very, very cheap pitching punts that are at least going to be viable in GPPs that we can talk about later in the show so that you can go Cole and then super cheap and maybe fit in a couple Atlanta bats. Like you're not going to be able to full stack them, but you could maybe do a 3-man stack of Atlanta with Cole. So, I mean, we're going to talk about the rest of the pitchers on the slate, and it's pretty ugly. So, the contests that I play, maybe some higher dollar single entries. I want to take the more secure raw points from Cole. So that's my argument.
Pitching is something on this slate. I mean, we have some decent options over 9K. If like 4 guys over 9K, I think you can make an argument for playing any of these 4 guys. But overall, the pitching slate is awful. Cole by a landslide. As far as like top pitcher on the slate, it's just whether or not you can make him work with some bats here. So I think it's a great spot. Detroit's awful. Cole probably dominates, and I don't even know if dominates the right word here. He probably just, I mean, 35 plus is something I think we see here from Cole. The other side of this one, do you have any interest here in Joey Wentz against the Yankees?
I do not. And pitching's really bad on this slate, and I have no interest in him at all.
Yeah, I mean, a guy that just doesn't really strike anybody out, sitting around like right around 20%, below average pitcher, just really struggles with right-handed bats. 240 ISO, 385 WOBA. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about bats here. I think the Yankees are an excellent pivot off of the Braves today.
I mean, I'm sorry that this is the first game on the slate that we're breaking down, but the Yankees bats are my favorite tournament pivot away from Atlanta. Like, Wentz allows a 239 ISO to right-handed bats this season. Like, 52.4% hard hits to right-handed hitters. We all know that this Yankees lineup is chock full of righties. So it's like, if I'm not stacking Atlanta, I'm going to try to get to this New York team like by a landslide. Like, they're by far my favorite, non-Coors team.
Yeah, I love this spot for them. If you can't attack this team, they have so much power. Bader, Stanton, Torres, Judge, LeMahieu even. So, yeah, ton of interest in the Yankees today. And they're not as expensive as the Atlanta stack. It is very easy to fit in a Yankee stack and Cole.
Yep.
That was my initial thought process and build when I was messing around with lineups or messing around with the slate before we got started here is, take some of these Yankees and, stack them up in this phenomenal spot today. So I think you probably get 2 or 3 of these expensive bats. There's the catcher Higgs. He's cheap. Bader's cheap. So I really do think you can make Yankees Cole work in a phenomenal spot here against Wentz. No interest for me on the Detroit side of this game.
Not at all.
Bader got put on waivers. Did I miss that? He did. You're right. On my bad.
Yeah.
Someone will pick him up. That he won't stay on waivers long.
And Donaldson got released.
I saw the Donaldson news.
Yeah.
I saw that. I knew he had gotten released, but I don't know why they did that with Bader. I don't know what his contract situation was either, to be fully transparent. So that doesn't shock me. So, I mean, Volpe's cheap. Yeah, like I said, Higgs is cheap at catcher at 2.7K. So there's going to be cheap bats to make the Yankee stack work, especially depending on who cracks the lineup here. We could potentially get a few cheap bats. So Yankees might finally be calling it a year. Watch out.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly, kind of what
that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing, I think, is they're just calling it.
Yeah. Oh, darn shucks. True Red Sox fan in me is not sad about it. Texas at Mets. 8.5 total in this game. The Mets are 125 favorite. We have Senga and Dunning facing off against each other. Dave, I don't think it'd be the Cardinals that get Bader back. I think someone in the race, I think Seattle would be a good landing spot for Bader. Not DFS wise, just team wise. Anyway, Senga and Dunning. Any interest here in Dane Dunning at 7.6K?
I guess he'd be maybe okay. This Mets lineup is, kind of, it's top heavy. So towards the bottom, it gets pretty bad. Dunning's been better of late. He's actually improved his K rate quite a bit. His control is decent. The price is decent. So I think he would fit in a build. He would be the type of guy that you would use if you wanted to fade Cole, throw in Dunning, throw in another couple, throw another cheap pitcher in and stack Atlanta, right? He could conceivably get through this lineup and he's flashed a ceiling lately. So I think he's viable. Certainly not my favorite, but I don't think he's horrible.
Yeah, so I did a deep dive on him a couple starts ago. I remember who he was facing. Hold on, let me pull it up. He was facing San Francisco, and I did a deep dive on Dunning in that spot against San Francisco. I had a ton of interest in that spot. Just I think it was price in the slate. But anyway, He's using this changeup a lot more and using his cutter less, using his slider more, using his fastball less, and it's working for him. I mean, you kind of alluded to recently. You look at his last 30 days, his strikeout rate's 31%. That's 19% on the season. So, generating more ground balls, generating more whiffs outside the strike zone, and his swinging strike rate is up 4%. It's a lot to do with righties. There's a lot of potential lefties in this lineup. So that worries me a little bit. The better bats here, I mean, Alonso is a righty, but you still got to get through like Lindor. You got to get through Nimmo. You're going to get guys like Jeff McNeil, who doesn't strike out. He's going to put the ball in play. So I really think Dane Dunning is in play, like you said, as far as like an SP2 type of situation. But I also want to see what the lineup and ownership looks like on Dunning. I love when guys mix up their like pitch mix, and I love that kind of stuff, man. I live for that kind of stuff. There's edge in it, So I know that there was no real edge yesterday in Cole Reagan's, and I wrote like this whole long spiel on expert survey on why he was the top pitcher on the slate, because he's been doing different pitch. Like, he's changed his pitch mix up. Didn't matter. Dude was going to be 50, 67% owned anyway. But, hey, I felt good about it, and it worked. But it worked for everybody. I think he was like 70% owned in most of the contests I play. So, yeah, I mean, I think he's okay as like, then you got to remember this game's in Citi Field, so the ballpark helps. Texas, they've been struggling a little bit here recently. Any interest in Senga at 10-3 here?
If I'm going to be going up, well, here's the thing. If I'm going to be going up that high, right, I'm going to get to Cole, or we'll talk about him, but I like Luzardo better. So Senga really is going to get squeezed in my rankings. So I'm either going to go higher for Cole or lower for Luzardo.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I'm going up to Cole. I don't think Senga is a bad option. I think Texas is good. Again, they have been struggling here recently. Senga's been pitching fantastic. Like, if you're playing like large field tournaments, he's in your pool. You want to get super different today, play Senga and Cole together. That makes your lineup way different. So, Texas bats, any interest in the Texas bats here?
Not particularly. They're pretty expensive. The only thing I'd say is that when Senga loses his control, which he does do, he has a very, very high walk rate to both sides of the plate. Like, anytime you have that, a stack is in play, because anytime you have bad control, that leads to more base runners, more opportunities for fantasy points, a better opportunity for a shorter outing. So in that case, like maybe like a Duran or a Garver or a Nathaniel Lowe kind of stack. I don't know if I can justify playing Corey Seager at 6,700 or Semien at 61, but some of these cheaper Ranger bats, I could see getting like a 3-man of them.
Yeah. I'm probably going to stay away from the bats here. The guys I want to play are expensive. I'd rather play Yankees or Braves if I'm going to pay those prices. So, I'm probably going to stay away from Texas. And then the Mets, like, I think Lindor's price is somewhat appealing. He's under 5K. He's capable of big games. He's someone that has upside to hit home runs. He's someone that has upside to steal bases. I think he's over 20 stolen bases on the season. So, like, he has that type of jack in the bag type of upside under 5K. Don't hate that. Don't hate Nimmo. But I'm just, there's some games on this slate that I really like for bats, and this game just isn't one of them. Vogelbach's 2.8K if you want to chase some upside with like power there, but yeah, just overall, I mean, I don't love this game.
They're really trying to get you to play some of these Mets because they're all pretty cheap, right? Like they're all kind of like a little bit cheaper than I thought they'd be. Like you meant, like Alonso under 5K, Lindor under 5K, Nimmo's only 4,400. But I agree with you; they're not really a team that I really want to. This is one of the worst hitting stadiums in all of baseball. So really, like I don't have that much interest at all.
All right, moving on. We got Tampa Bay at Miami. hey, the Hurricanes should be past there by the time this game gets going. Miami right now, though, getting hit pretty hard. I guess it's kind of past Miami now. So if you do live on the coast of Florida, by the way, Tallahassee, Gainesville area, Valdosta, Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, like in that range of the Hurricanes, stay safe. Category 2, Category 3 Hurricanes are no joke. So my yard's prepped, man. I'm ready to go. Bring it on. Bring on the winds. We're not going to have a ton of rain here, but we're going to have a lot of wind tomorrow. So we got Eflin and Luzardo facing off against each other in this game. 7.5. Slight pick'em game. I mean, Rays a very, very slight favorite here. Any interest in Zach Eflin at 9-7 here?
I mean, I guess you could. But again, like you said about Senga, like if you're making a ton of teams, like you're not removing him, you're not exiting him out. But again, just like I like the pitcher quite a bit on the other side of this game, and I obviously like Cole. So like he just doesn't make it. Like I think I don't know. I guess I do like Eflin more than Senga, but really it's not a priority for me. Like you see that like Jazz Chisholm has like a really, really high K rate, but I think like he's just been injured, and I think that will get better. So like the top half of this lineup, there's not a lot of Ks. And then like Gurriel and Arias, they have like incredibly low strikeout rates. So I don't know. Like I don't think he's got like a huge ceiling in this matchup.
Yeah. I mean, I think Eflin is like someone, if you're not going to go up in Cole to get Cole and you still want a guy that has some upside, I don't hate it. I think that this is going to be a low scoring game, both sides.
I do too.
So I could see Eflin having a solid outing here, for sure. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but also like if he was a little bit cheaper, he'd probably be like massive chalk. But I think he's capable of 25 plus. Miami a lot better against left-handed pitching than they are against right-handed pitching. So, yeah, I think Eflin very much in play. I think Luzardo, if you want to chase some ceiling here with his strikeout ability, this is one of those situations you really kind of hope there's a good pitching umpire in this game, and you can kind of play both of these guys and chase some ceiling here.
Luzardo is my second favorite like raw points pitcher on the slate. Second to only Cole, obviously. So the Rays strike out. They're very, very, very heavy strikeout team. So I love him. He's only $9,200. Pitching in a really good pitcher's park. Like I think this is a great play. Like I think if you wanted to fade Cole and start your SP1 with Luzardo, I think that's completely fine. I think he's got the ceiling to match Cole.
Yeah, I think both of these guys have upside. As far as bats on the Tampa side, I mean, especially like Solaire's banged up too. Like if Eflin doesn't get Solaire here, like that takes out one of their big bats in the Miami lineup. Like, I think both these teams very much like both these pitchers have a lot of upside. Do you have any interest in the Tampa bats here?
Not really. I really like Luzardo in this matchup, so I don't really have any interest at all. I guess like a Rosarena is going to be like a forgotten one-off that can definitely break any slate, but I think that's just purely a contrarian kind of like large field tournament play. But I have no interest in this stack at all.
Yeah, I honestly don't have interest in either side of this game. I don't like anybody on the Miami side either. I think this is just a game I'm going to stay away from. I have interest in both of these pitchers. Like if I'm not paying up for Cole,
yeah,
I could see myself using both of these guys with like a Yankee stack and trying to get like leverage on the Yankee stack plus the Atlanta stack with one lineup. So I could see using both these pitchers. I don't have any interest in the bats.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you there too.
All right, we got Pittsburgh at Kansas City. Someone says DK has D Reyes pitching. Which game is that, Dave? We can go back and cover that in a second. Pittsburgh at Kansas City. I don't see Reyes pitching. It might be. the Detroit game. We'll talk about that in a second. It might be Reyes in Detroit game. Anyway, Pittsburgh at Kansas City. 9 total pick'em game, like straight pick'em game. 112, 108. It sounds like it's going to be Andre Jackson and Angel Zerpa. I know that I know there's a couple places that have Keller and Singer. Everything I'm reading has Jackson Zerpa.
I'm pretty sure it's Jackson. I've read some stuff that's gonna be Jackson.
Yeah, and then I mean it's kind of like a bullpen situation if Zerpa is going to pitch.
Right.
He has thrown like 50, 60 pitches in the past. I think he had 80 at one point, but bullpen situation potentially for Kansas City. Let's go Pittsburgh. Any interest in Jackson here?
I do. just because of the slate, his price. I think he pitched around 70 pitches last time out. He is only $5,100, or no, excuse me, $5,400. Like, I think you can take shots with him when you're stacking Atlanta. Like, I think if he got you 13 or 14 DraftKings points, depending on how your bats do, that could be good enough on the slate. So I actually do have some interest. If he's going to be like in any way like popular, maybe I would backtrack that statement a little bit. But if he's going to be like projecting really badly and nobody really wants to punt with him, I would take shots on him. Like I think he could, conceivably get 15 DraftKings points.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that kind of worries me a little bit about Jackson is like, is he the chalk SP2 punt play?
Right.
Yeah. Like that is the one thing. Because I mean, I agree with you, right? I think that there's a good chance that Andre Jackson scoring like 12 to 15 points is enough today if you're playing Atlanta and they do their thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I hate the idea of playing him as chalk, but I also think he's the best option down here. I'm looking into this Reyes situation. We'll go back after the Pittsburgh Kansas City game before we move on to the next one to talk about it. But it does sound like he's getting called up and he is starting for the Mets today at 4K, which could potentially change some stuff here. So we'll go back and talk about that in just a second. But any interest in this Kansas City bullpen situation here?
No, I think that seems too much of like we're just kind of speculating. Like Zerpa is going to throw like what? Maybe. Well, I mean, I don't know. If he can get to like 60, 70 pitches, maybe I have the same kind of interest as Jackson. I guess he's a viable punt, but I don't know. I thought he was more of just like an opener.
I mean, they've used him in both situations. That's why it's like it's so. I feel like it's such like a thing that's so up in the air with Kansas City. Like we really don't know, but they did like say that like Singer's dealing with like arm fatigue, and they wanted to push him to start. So I mean, and like Alec Marsh just pitched a couple days ago. He pitches in long relief from time to time. Jordan Lyles is on like 4 days. So like I don't know if they could use him. Greinke just threw. Like I realistically think Zerpa might get like 60 to 70 pitches here, but I wouldn't bet anything on that. Like my confidence my confidence is not high on that. I'm just saying like they've already announced that they're going to skip Singer. They just sent Taylor Hearn, who kind of works in relief a lot of the bullpen 1 to 3 innings at a time. They just sent him down. So I didn't see any like corresponding moves for that. I mean, maybe we get some more clarification, but with Singer's arm fatigue and Marsh just throwing, Lyles just throwing, and Greinke just throwing, I would assume Zerpa gets 60 plus pitches here, but again, my confidence on that is really low.
So he pitched 21 pitches on the 26th. So, yeah, maybe 65, 70.
Yeah,
Like,
but they brought him. Okay, so what happened was they had brought him back. When they brought Greinke back, he moved back to like a piggyback role again. And that's why he only threw 21 pitches or whatever the other time. So with the situation on them skipping Singer, I assume here like Zerpa goes back to that like 3 or 4 inning type of role. Because I mean, they just, unless they're just gonna throw out 6 guys here, they don't really have a long relief guy here outside of like, yeah, really, it's really it. I mean, they don't really have a long relief guy. They option their other long relief guy down.
well,
So
I'll tell you, we're kind of like going back and forth between Zerpa and Jackson. It's kind of like whoever's going to be less popular, I have more interest in. Is kind of how I'm thinking. You know, like if one of them's going to be popular, then I'll take the other one because you're gonna want to take shots on these guys. You know, if you're making like 20 lineups or 150 or 50 teams, these guys are going to be in your pool. I guarantee it. So, I think right now I'd lean more on Jackson, but it's both these guys are viable. It's a really gross slate for pitching.
all right. Yeah, I mean, both are viable. Neither one of them are good.
They're definitely not good.
All right, let's talk Pittsburgh bats. Assuming that Zerpa is going to get a little bit of work here. I mean, McCutchen, Hayes, Joe, Rodriguez, like Pittsburgh's very playable here today as like a cheaper secondary stack.
This is the type of stack that you were talking about when you said, hey, like maybe I could go Eflin, Luzardo, and, do some Yankees and then do like a cheap, filler stack. Well, this could be like your cheap filler stack, with like a contrarian Yankee stack and a couple expensive pitchers. Bay at 3,300, Endy Rodriguez at 3,200, Pagoro 2,900, Palacios 2,600. Like these guys aren't great, but they're decent and they're really cheap and they're in a completely reasonable matchup. So Connor Joe, Sawinski, like these guys, this team's fine. Like I would definitely be getting to a lot of this team if I have expensive pitchers on my team, and you could even do this team with 3 Atlanta bats pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the Pittsburgh like secondary cheap stack is very much in play, and I mean, don't sleep on the Kansas City secondary cheap stack either.
Right.
I mean, this is one of those situations like if Jackson's super chalky, play some Kansas City. I mean, get some leverage on the field. Like again, neither one of these pitchers or anything to write home about. Both of these guys are very hittable. So yeah, I mean, Kansas City cheap bats are very much in play for me today.
Yeah, like MJ Melendez 3,400, Massey 3,100,
Drew Waters 3K.
Yeah, Drew Waters 3K. Even Sal Perez 4,100. Like I know he hasn't been amazing, but that's getting down there. So I think this game really it's going to be all about ownership, right? Like if one pitcher is going to be chalky, you can get leverage to the other side, and I'm just not sure who's going to be like the more popular punt.
All right, let's go back to this Texas situation real quick before we talk Coors.
Okay.
There's a report that says Denny Reyes he got called up on Tuesday afternoon to start Wednesday's game, so he is going to be starting this game instead of Senga. We know like Denny Reyes is a guy that we've seen now a few times. We saw him with Baltimore a little bit last year. We saw him start a couple games with the Mets this year. 12 innings, 12 strikeouts this season with the Mets. Nothing to write home about. 1.9 whip. Decent strikeout stuff. Gives up home runs at every level so far. AAA this season, he's made 15 starts, 76 innings. He has a 1.4 whip. 7K per 9, a 2.5 home run per 9, and a 44% fly ball rate with a 17.8% strikeout rate. So, I mean, I don't really have any interest. It is a 4K pitcher. It is a 4K pitcher.
I was going to say, it's a 4K pitcher.
And he's a fly ball guy in Citi Field, so maybe. But I have a lot more interest in the Texas bats now.
Yes, I was just going to say that. Like, scratch what I said about not wanting to pay out for Corey Seager or Marcus Semien.
Yeah, it kind of like JP Martinez, Jankowski, like whoever starts with those like cheaper bats for Texas, Lowe, obviously him, Garver, and then like you said, Seager and Semien. So I don't know. I don't like looking at Reyes' stats and stuff. He doesn't really appeal to me too much, even as a 4K guy. But I'm much more interested in the Texas bats now than like. I mean, it's a huge difference. They're like kind of priced like they're facing Singa.
Right. Yeah. No. It's definitely improvement. Huge improvement for the Rangers.
All right, we got Atlanta at Colorado. Yeah, buddy. 13.5 total. It sounds like Darius Vines is going to play and start this game. Welcome to the Bigs. So yeah, sounds like Darius Vines is pitching for Atlanta today. Prospect wise, not terrible. He does have a above average changeup, below average fastball, doesn't generate a lot of swinging strikes. Started the season in high A ball and quickly got moved up to AAA, like skipped AA. So he kind of started the season hurt. So I think like his high A starts were just kind of rehab type starts, and then he got 5 starts in AAA. But yeah, he's not. I mean, not terrible, but he's not like the best.
Can we really do this to ourselves, Stevie?
I think you can take shots on him today for what it's worth.
You do.
I think. Okay. I wish he was like 5,100.
Right.
But I mean, my issues with Vines looking into him is the command is like his like bread and butter, but his walks have been awful. So I want him to walk less. He gives up home runs. That's not good for Coors. He's 6,100. Colorado's offense is not great. This game is in Coors. This could easily backfire. But if we're trying to stack Atlanta, now Texas, and the Yankees, none of those teams, the Yankees have some cheap bats. It's easier to make the Yankees stack work, but we are looking for cheap pitching. Do you feel good about it? Heck no. But I'm not playing Kyle Freeland against the Braves. So if you're not taking shots on that like Pittsburgh, Kansas City pitching situation, I think this is a guy you could potentially take a shot on. But there's another guy that like I feel like maybe I like more here.
Right.
Even in a really tough. Yeah, there's one more guy.
There's another guy. There's another guy that we haven't got to yet. So I can't do it. I can't do it. Like I'm trying to think. Like if I max 150. Would I have him in 5 lineups?
I would spread out my ownership between Zerpa, Jackson, Vines, and Fayette, who we're going to talk about here in the next game. So I wouldn't lock on to any of those guys, but I would have ownership on all of them because, you're going to need that like value if you're going to stack Atlanta. Atlanta is so expensive. All right, let's talk. Do you have any interest in Freeland?
No, I can't do it. I'm just not gonna. I can't do it.
Yeah, all the Braves in play. Arcia, one of my favorite from the Braves today at 4,600. It's crushed left-handed pitching. Hope they play both catchers so we can play Darno at 4.1 instead of Murphy at 5.8.
I was just gonna say Darno is way too cheap. He's gonna be so high owned though if he gets to start. He'll be so chalky. That's the only issue.
Any guy under 4K for Atlanta would be chalky. Like if Pilar starts, he would be chalky as well. Anybody that cracks the lineup here for Atlanta today under 4K, I think there's only potentially like 2 or 3 guys, but yeah, they're all going to be popular. So, great spot for Atlanta. Freeland stinks. It's just all about roster construction. No one should tell you not to play Atlanta today if you can make it work. But we've had better pitching the last couple of days, like punt options, where it's been a lot easier. We had Harrison on Monday. Yesterday we had Reagan's. It was a lot easier to fit in Atlanta. I mean, you don't have that. You don't have that guy today.
Yeah, Monday was absolutely loaded with value pitchers. Like you couldn't miss. Like Wu was good, Oviedo was good, Harrison was good, Rodriguez was good. You're not going to have that on Wednesday slate, so it's going to be a little bit trickier to stack Atlanta. But yeah, like what can we say? They're the best offense in baseball, and the best hitting park in baseball. So I mean, it's all going to come down to your risk tolerance. And if you want to like make some kind of bold fades and fade them, that's fine. Like you're not obligated to play anyone in baseball. So, I'm certainly not telling you to fade them, but they are going to be super chalk.
Rockies, again, this guy has a home run issue. So playing McMahon, playing Jones, playing any of these lefties that crack the lineup, I think is interesting. Like even taking some shots maybe on Goodman, who just got called up recently. He has some pop, and he's 2.9K. So yeah, I mean, I think Colorado is very much in play. Vines is not a guy that's going to blow the ball by anybody. So like this is definitely a stackable spot for Colorado.
Absolutely, Ryan McMahon. I think Nolan Jones obviously are the two obvious guys for Colorado. But you're right. Goodman at 2,900 is absolutely way too cheap. So yeah, it's even like I know Profar is terrible, but like 2,600. Oh no, he's released. I forgot about that.
He got released.
Never mind. I forgot about that. Yeah, still. I forgot all about that. But yeah, like Goodman at 2,900, he's definitely your value guy. Doyle, if he cracks the lineup, 2,700. So I mean, there are some cheap bats that you can get to.
Yeah, Goodman 5 for 10 to start his big league career. That's what you want to do if you want a job next season. So good for him. Good for him. Yeah, I did it. Arizona at LA. I hang out with my wife too much. She got bad jokes and she's rubbing off on me. 9.5 total in this game. Dodgers a 150 favorites. It was supposed to be Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn's getting pushed. It's going to be Ryan Pepiot. Pepio. All right, sounds good. Close enough. Pitching here. And I mean, I think both these guys are interesting today. Brandon Fiat is someone that I have talked about a lot recently. I think that he's playable. Like, okay, I don't want to play anybody against the Dodgers for any reason, but I will say this. I think that he has the highest ceiling among the guys under 7K. He also probably has the lowest floor because he's facing one of the best offenses in baseball.
I agree with everything you just said. And, where people want to win GPPs, prize pools are top heavy. So go for the ceiling. I completely agree with you. Fox got the best ceiling out of all those cheap nonsense guys that we were talking about. So, I mean, like I really like him. Like, do I have the guts to play him in single entry on Wednesday? I don't know, but I hope I do, to be honest with you. Like, I hope that, like, if Jackson is going to be popular, then like I can just pivot to Fott, right? Like, I think he clearly has the best ceiling out of all of these cheap guys.
I mean, and then the other side of this game, I think if Ryan was like, if he was like 6,500, he'd be way too chalky.
if he was 6,500, he'd be the stone.
Yeah, I was gonna say he'd be way too chalky. I think had he been like 7,500, it would have like made people like realistically think like, do I want to play him or do I not want to play him, kind of thing. And I think that's where it would have got a little interesting. Hate the price tag. 8,500. I'm trying to get to Luzardo or Eflin in that scenario.
Right.
Arizona has a very solid offense. I mean, they'll disappear from days at a time sometimes, but I mean, and I'm not saying that he can't go out here and have a really strong outing. He's shown great strikeout ability so far, but they don't strike out a lot against right-handed pitching.
Right. This is not a good matchup for Pepe.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup.
It just isn't. So, I mean, I would 100% be finding the 700 for Luzardo if I'm in this range. Like, no chance. I think Pepe is going to be a decent pitcher, but this is not the right price or matchup or slate for him. I don't think he has much of a ceiling. Like, if you get 15 points out of him, that's not going to be enough at his price tag.
Arizona bats. I mean, a lot of respect for him. I mean, they're kind of priced up. I mean, if you want to attack some maybe cheap bats here against him, I don't hate it. Not my favorite idea, but I think like you could potentially take some shots here on Arizona. Carroll, obviously, if you want to pay up to get contrarian today, 40 stolen bases, 22 home runs on the season, just having a stellar rookie year. What are your thoughts on the Diamondbacks?
I don't have much interest. Carroll, like you said, is the obvious guy. I think Christian Walker is pretty decent against right-handed bats. You know, he's got a 224 ISO. Gurriel's got a 238 ISO. I mean, that's pretty decent. I think, you know, they're obviously going to be contrarian, but I don't know. They're not my favorite. I mean, really, it comes down to the Yankees for me. Like, they're my favorite. The Yankees are my favorite contrarian stack.
Yeah, I like the Yankees a lot today as well. Let's talk Dodgers. You know, if we look recently, Fiat's been fantastic. He's done a great job limiting power to both lefties and righties. He's walked a lot less hitters. I will say some of his advanced stats definitely suggest he's been getting a little lucky. He's still giving up a ton of hard contact, and he does give up a lot of line drives. Again, like we talked about Texas, we talked about the Yankees, we obviously talked about Atlanta, but I think the Dodgers are another team on that list of how do we get off Atlanta today? I mean, because like the Dodgers pricing is very close to Atlanta outside of having a few cheap options that you can plug in there depending on like who's in the lineup. Like Outman's like 3.1, but I mean, Betts and Freeman are 64 and 6,500. They're the same, like that's Coors pricing. So I think the Dodgers are another team that you can look at to get off of Atlanta today.
Absolutely agree. You know, and like somebody like Max Muncy at 4,700, that just seems too cheap. I mean, he's got a 289 ISO against righties. Like that's really, really solid. And he's only $4,700. I think that's a really nice bargain. You can stack the Dodgers any slate against practically any pitcher. I still, for me, prefer the Yankees. But if there's a big ownership gap between those two stacks and the Yankees are more popular than the Dodgers, then maybe I change my mind. I don't think that will be the case, though. I think the Dodgers would be the next highest owned stack.
Yeah, I think the Yankees are going to be the next highest owned stack today, for what it's worth.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
you do.
just because. Okay,
all right,
Tim. Like, think about it. We talk about this on the show all the time. People hate stacking the Dodgers when they are at home because it's the late game. It is an hour and 30 minutes gap between the next closest game. people want to watch their hitters. And if you live on the East Coast, I mean, you want to watch your Yankees, you want to watch your Atlanta Braves. I mean, you don't want to stay up till midnight waiting to see what your stack does. And it just, it makes no sense, but it makes sense. I mean, if that makes any sense.
I understand
so,
what you're saying. I absolutely understand what you're saying. I just feel like the market has really just hates the Yankees. There's a really negative sentiment towards
I mean,
because
do you
they've been
do you
so
blame
bad.
them right now?
No, I don't blame them. But I mean, Aaron Judge is still a monster, and so is Stanton.
Oh, yeah.
Torres is still good. It's just
they're having a down year. The Yankees are just having a down year.
Right.
Oh, darn.
I'm from Maine, Stevie, so I'm not that sad.
I mean, anybody that's listened to this show before knows. Yeah. I have no problem saying what I feel about the Yankees, but listen, I take it too. Okay, if you're a Yankees fan, there's been plenty of times that I've taken it as a Red Sox fan. So, all right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we will get out of here. Under 8K to get 6 or more strikeouts. Who do you got?
Under 8K, it would be Fott for me.
I'll go Jackson. I don't love it, but I'll go Jackson. Over 8K to score under 15. Who is your bust today?
Eflin.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll go Ryan Piatz. Over 4K to hit a home run. Who's going yard? Not in Coors, obviously.
Not in Coors.
Yeah, we take Coors out of this game.
Right. Yeah. I don't blame you. I'll go Torres.
I like that. I'll take Aaron Judge.
You can't take Coors. You can't take Coors, but you can take Aaron Judge. Okay.
I mean, that's the okay. Game rules say you cannot take Coors.
Right.
Just following the rules.
All right.
Under 4K to get 2 hits. Who's a cheap bet that you like to get 2 hits today?
You said under 4K.
Yep.
Jack Suwinski.
Okay. Oh, that guy has had a hole in his bat. Give me Higgs from New York, the catcher.
Actually, Suwinski might not be in the lineup, so give me Connor Joe. Let me change to Joe. Connor Joe.
That's right, Derek. Tell him. Tell Derek. Derek, tell him. Them's the rules, Tim. Stack to score 6 more runs, not in Coors. I think you're going to say Yankees.
I like the Yankees. Yeah.
I'm going to go... Dude, I just have a weird feeling that Pittsburgh just gets it done today. Give me the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think they're going to get the job done today. I think we're going to see a big game from the Pirates today. So give me Pittsburgh. Give me Pittsburgh. Like I said, I think Pittsburgh gets the job done today. Tim, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, thanks as always, Stevie, and thanks for everyone for watching.
Stay safe if you're on the Florida coast or Georgia. It's going to be a long day tomorrow for anybody in that area. Again, stay safe. Hope everyone has a fantastic Wednesday. We'll be back Thursday. I think I'm solo Thursday. I think it's a really small slate. So if you have any questions you want me to answer in the podcast, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at Stevietpfl, or hit me up in YouTube chat. If you haven't already, subscribe to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind YouTube page. That's all the housekeeping. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you then.